Tonight, a terrifying robbery caught on camera. A Montreal jeweler targeted, and he fought back.
I got bruises here because they hit me with the rod.
What's behind the spike in Brazen jewelry store thefts? The growing chorus of Liberals calling for Justin Trudeau to go.
We're in an impossible situation if he stays.
But they can't force him to step aside. Bombshell allegations behind the scenes of a summer blockbuster.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
You know what I mean.
Blake Lively accuses her co-star of sexual harassment and a smear campaign when she spoke up. Allegations he denies.
From CBC News, this is The National with Paul Hunter.
Thanks for joining us. Ian is away. Tonight, we begin with a violent robbery in Montreal caught on surveillance camera. It comes on the heels of a wave of armed robberies targeting Ontario jewelry stores. These photos of the aftermath give you some idea of the terrible damage done when thieves rammed their vehicle right through the front of the Montreal store. But this is nothing compared to what's just ahead. Corbino Aduro starts with the shocking footage and the story of the owner who, as you'll see, leapt into action.
When thieves slammed their car into his storefront, owner Gagurjeet Singh admits he was scared, but also determined to put up a fight. This security camera footage shows the crooks smashing cases and grabbing goods, even as they fended off Singh.
I got bruises here because they hit me with the rod, and one of the guys having the big hammer, he was trying to hit me up when he was robbing the stuff.
And Singh says it's not the first time. In January, thieves broke in through the back door and made off, he says, with $200,000 in cash and jewelry. In this latest theft, Singh estimates he lost another $600,000 worth of jewelry, and the damage means he can't reopen for the last of the holiday rush.
We are just putting down every effort in this season, and this happens, it's very hard for us.
It's the second brazen robbery in Montreal in the past week. Surveillance video captured these thieves going through cases and running. The designer says $8,000 in merchandise, including jewelry, was stolen.
My initial reaction was sadness. It's so hard sort of being on this side of things.
It's not just a Montreal problem. Police in Toronto say jewelry store robberies have doubled this year, while in parts of the GTA, they have more than tripled. According to an industry group that tracks these crimes, store thefts are on the rise nationally. It says thieves are drawn to the low risk, high reward of crimes that can happen in just minutes. Singh says he no longer feels safe.
Even when we are sleeping, we are just thinking that somebody's at the store, somebody's at our house. It's very hard.
Police here in Montreal say this robbery is an isolated case. They say there's no signs of a serious uptick in jewelry store thefts. Even so, they are increasing patrols around stores for the holidays, and they're urging anyone who sees a crime to contact them right away. Corbino Aduro, CBC News, Montreal.
Sources tell CBC News that a majority of Ontario's Liberal MPs have come together to call on Justin Trudeau to resign. As Rafi Boudjahkanian shows, this marks another public blow for the Prime Minister as he considers his future in private.
As a parent, you never stop worrying. I heard that Polyev voted against $10 a day childcare.
A new ad by the embattled federal Liberals focused on attacking the Conservatives.
I don't want to worry about Polyev cutting pensions or raising the retirement age again.
But Justin Trudeau nowhere to be seen. The Prime Minister also refused to answer questions about his future all week and cancelled several year-end interviews. Now, Ontario MPs, the largest contingent in the Liberal Party, have come to a consensus. 51 of them holding a meeting on Saturday determining the Prime Minister must step down. Sources tell CBC News they asked Chair Michael Cotto to deliver that message to Trudeau.
I have written even before yesterday's meeting that, in my opinion, majority of the caucus thinks it's time for prime ministers to step aside.
And Liberals across the country are speaking out, some seeing their leader as a liability.
We're in an impossible situation if he stays because he will be the ballot issue. We won't be looking at Liberal programs. We won't be looking at anything else. It'll all be a question for voters. Do they want Justin Trudeau to stay prime minister? I think they've clearly come to a conclusion on that.
With Trudeau not answering questions, his ministers are left to do the talking, some pointing toward the looming threat of a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods exported to the U.S., now potentially less than a month away, as Donald Trump prepares to return to power.
What I saw was an energized prime minister who's determined to meet that moment and determined to provide the kinds of supports for Canadians that we've become known for.
Despite that support, the Liberals no longer have a partner in the House of Commons, with the NDP saying it intends to topple the government in the new year.
Parliament is currently set to return a week after Trump's inauguration, something the Conservatives want to happen sooner, though it's unlikely. One option for Trudeau, prorogation, which could delay the next sitting, though that request would require approval from the Governor-General.
So, Rafi, all of these Liberals are speaking out, but they can't force Trudeau out, can they?
There is nothing in the party's constitution that allows caucus to make him leave, though they can continue to mount that pressure. Some have started voicing support for Chrystia Freeland to replace him. Now, she has not publicly stated any such intentions, though she did say she wants to run again for her seat, and in an email to supporters declared that her resignation is not the end of the road for her.
Thanks, Rafi. Rafi Boudjikanian in Ottawa. Well, on top of Donald Trump's tariff threat against Canada and Mexico, the president-elect is making a new trade demand. As Katie Nicholson shows us, he's threatening the U.S. retake control of the Panama Canal.
Before a rapturous crowd of his supporters, President-elect Donald Trump issued a new threat that caught many by surprise.
That we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question.
This after a Saturday evening post on his social media platform. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous. He warned that the canal might fall into the wrong hands, hinting at Chinese influence. Panama's president, José Raúl Mulino, posted this video in response. Every square meter of the Panama Canal and its adjacent area belong to Panama and will continue to be, he said. The sovereignty and independence of our country are not negotiable. Trump fired back, posting, "We'll see about that," and "Welcome to the United States, Canal." The Panama Canal was built by the U.S. and opened in 1914. Following a treaty signed under the Carter administration, it was transferred to Panamanian control in 1999. Now, thousands of ships transit through the canal every year. 75% of the traffic is destined for or from the U.S.
He has no idea what the fees in the Panama Canal are, as my guess. And
this political science professor doesn't think it's a serious threat so much as a recycled Republican talking point.
It became an issue in the 1970s that got a lot of publicity when Reagan criticized Carter for giving the Panama Canal back to the Panamanians.
Of course, this isn't the first time Trump has mused about expanding America's footprint. During his first administration, he talked about buying Greenland. Of course, it never happened. And earlier this month, he posted about Canada becoming the 51st state, something widely viewed as an attempt to troll Prime Minister Trudeau. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
Officials in Brazil say at least 10 people are dead after a small plane crashed into a popular tourist town. Authorities posted this footage of the fire that started after the plane hit a building, a home, and then a furniture store minutes after takeoff. Officials say everyone on board, all members of the same family, were killed in the crash. More than a dozen people on the ground were injured. It's not clear what caused the crash. More details are emerging about the horrific attack on Friday when a car plunged into crowds of Christmas market shoppers in Germany, as Jennifer Yoon shows us. Though similar in style to attacks made by Islamist extremists in the past, this suspect may have had a very different motive.
In the sea of flowers and candles near the crime scene, a single question. The word in English, why? Why would somebody plow a car through a Christmas market, hitting more than 200 people and killing 5, including a 9-year-old boy? Some details are coming into focus. The suspect is a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia with a history of Islamophobic rhetoric. He's lived in Germany for almost 2 decades. German police haven't identified him, but international media are identifying him as Taleb al-Abdel Mohsen.
I thought I have to do something.
CBC News interviewed him in 2019, agreeing not to show his face. At the time, he was sharing information to help Saudi women seeking asylum abroad. One possible factor behind Friday's attack, according to a local prosecutor, the suspect's frustration with Germany's handling of refugees. His social media account is riddled with posts criticizing Islam, supporting the far right, and critical of German authorities, saying they had failed to do enough to fight what he calls the Islamification of Europe. Given all that, some counterterrorism experts ask, why would the suspect target a Christmas market?
A more reasonable or rational target would have been a mosque. We have seen attacks by Islamist extremists against markets in the past, against crowds in Barcelona, in Nice, and Berlin itself back in 2016.
Memories of that attack, claimed by ISIS, have left some in Germany to jump to conclusions about the motive. Anti-immigrant anger already percolating at the scene. Protesters calling for the deportation of non-ethnically German immigrants. Germany's federal election is coming up in 2 months, and the far-right AfD party has been surging in popularity. There are concerns that the incident will be exploited for political points before we know more about why this happened. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Stunning allegations are coming from actor Blake Lively about her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni.
What's your name?
Lily. You?
Ryle.
Behind the scenes of this summer's box office hit, in which Lively plays a woman in an abusive relationship, she says she was being subjected to sexual harassment on set.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
You know what I mean.
Lively alleges her co-star, the film's director, Justin Baldoni, talked about his sex life, his previous pornography addiction, and entered her makeup trailer repeatedly while she was undressed. Then, when she spoke up, she alleges a calculated plan was hatched to destroy her reputation. In an 80-page filing with the California Civil Rights Department, obtained by the New York Times, Lively alleges Baldoni was so worried she would make his on-set behavior public that he and the lead producer, quote, retained a crisis communications specialist and embarked on a sophisticated press and digital plan in retaliation. It allegedly involved planting, amplifying, and boosting negative stories about her online. In text messages included in the filing, Baldoni's publicist writes, Baldoni, quote, wants to feel like she can be buried. The response, in part, you know we can bury anyone. Through a lawyer, Baldoni is denying the allegations. It is shameful, says the statement, that Ms. Lively and her representatives would make such serious and categorically false accusations as yet another desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation. Oysters harvested and sold in BC have been recalled for possible norovirus contamination. The impacted oysters were mostly processed earlier this month and sold in BC, Alberta, and Ontario. Sunseeker and Cloudy Bay oysters from Fanny Bay, Vancouver Island, sold under the Taylor Shellfish Canada brand, should be thrown out or returned. The number of people relying on Canada's food banks broke new records this year. It's almost doubled in the past 5. As Julia Wong shows us, that's prompting some food banks to limit how often people can use their services.
It's been a tough year for Edmonton's food bank as it reels from sky-high demand.
Well, this is not sustainable over time.
Roughly 45,000 people now depend on its food hampers, about 10,000 more than this time 2 years ago. The need is creating so much strain. Starting as early as February, the food bank will start limiting how often people can use its services.
It's a rough situation for us because, of course, we don't want people going hungry in our community. At the same time, we have to be able to serve as many people as we can.
Food banks across Canada are buckling. The Hunger Count report says 56% of them are either giving out fewer items or reducing the number of visits, up from 20% 3 years ago. Some programs aren't at that point yet, but pressure is building at smaller organizations like Calgary's Muslim Food Bank. Its client list grew from 30 families in 2022 to 300 now. Another 200 are on the wait list.
Some families, they said that we go to other food banks and they're at their full capacity, so we looked up online and we saw you guys.
A lot of canned pasta.
The need at the Veterans Association has exploded too. 3 years ago, it was making 55 hampers a month. Now it's closer to 300.
It's almost scary just trying to keep up with it. You have to worry about a society where we have that many people in that kind of trouble.
People like Eric Monahan, who retired from the Navy in 2019.
The prices are consistently going higher.
About 2 years ago, he started using the food bank at the Veterans Association to keep his 11-person household afloat.
It's become our lifeline.
With demand so high, there's hope goodwill will persist after the holidays. Food banks typically see a donation slump in the new year, but many say that's something Canadians in need can't afford. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
The GST holiday has been in effect for more than a week now, but is it making an impact?
The GST holiday, how's that working out for you?
Hasn't made a difference at all.
We get reaction from shoppers and retailers. That may soon be harder to do. Why Sesame Street is looking for a new home.
Worldwide, kids shows on traditional TV has been declining.
And the son of legendary golfer Tiger Woods shows off what he's made of.
Oh, it's a hole-in-one!
We're back in 2 weeks. The US FAA says it's investigating this holiday drone show in Orlando. It fell apart last night. Drones colliding mid-air and several tumbling out of the sky into the crowds below. One hit and injured a 7-year-old boy. More than 1 week into the GST tax break, reviews are coming in fast, but most of them are mixed. Belle Puri now with why the tax holiday isn't a hit for some Canadians.
The season to give is the season to spend, so a break on taxes seems like a good idea.
I don't know how much I've saved, to be honest, but they keep telling us at stores that there's no GST.
I've got 3 kids and, you know, Christmas presents, groceries right now, everything's expensive. So, yeah, I think it's great.
Some merchants think otherwise.
It proved to be a little bit more difficult than we thought. A lot more work for the receivers, for the staff, just to change all the prices.
For more than a week now, Canadians have been able to save the GST on things like children's toys, diapers, beer and wine, and restaurant meals.
Anecdotally, we've heard from a couple of customers that that's why they came, but it wasn't a big mad rush through the door as a result of it.
But the long list of what's excluded from the 2-month GST holiday is confusing for some.
I am trying not to charge the tax for the items that I know for sure aren't taxable right now, but honestly, I'm just winging it and hoping I'm doing the right thing.
It's possible that news of the coming discount made shoppers delay purchases.
I looked at card spending for toys, hobbies, and games. And actually, after the 21st, when the GST holiday was announced, we saw a notable pullback.
The GST holiday, how's that working out for you?
Hasn't made a difference at all.
As far as I can tell, it hasn't made a difference.
No.
Yeah.
How's it working for you?
Wouldn't have a clue, because everything that we want to buy, the GST's on it.
The overall impact of the tax break won't be measured in detail until next month. But some merchants say it's a gift they're ready to return.
Maybe it's safest to say, would we like it to happen again? Probably not.
Belpuri, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, Sesame Street isn't getting renewed, leaving Big Bird and Elmo to find a new address.
Hi, Julia. I'm Big Bird.
Why some say the show is worth saving. And the Canadians who caught our attention in 2024.
I really did grow up in the prairies.
We revisit some of Ian's most notable conversations.
Slowly but surely, if you keep doing your same strange thing for 20 years, eventually people think it's cool.
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. That's Charlie Woods, son of Tiger Woods, and he's about to show he's learned a thing or two from his dad.
Oh, it's a hole-in-one! Charlie Woods, come on, has made an ace.
Not just an ace, his first ace ever while teaming up with Tiger, but unfortunately...
And guess what? His father was actually not watching.
Still, clearly a proud moment for the pair that helped earn them second place in the tournament and, perhaps more importantly, a memory they surely won't soon forget. Sesame Street is officially on the market. The children's TV show, beloved by generations of kids and parents, is looking for a new distribution partner. As Magda Gebrselassie explains, its HBO deal is ending, throwing the future into question.
From Big Bird to Elmo, Sesame Street stars have helped raise generations of kids. But now the children's show is on the hunt for a new home. Future new episodes are on the line.
I would love some new episodes. Making new episodes is like more of like an opportunity to see more things.
Oh, here comes Dr. Bucky.
Sesame Street is produced by the nonprofit Sesame Workshop. Since 2015, it had a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery to produce new episodes, having them air first on HBO and then Max before PBS could air them. But now Warner Brothers Discovery has decided not to renew the deal, saying it's focusing on stories for adults and families.
Worldwide, kids shows on traditional TV has been declining, right? And that's not Sesame Street's problem. That's just the way it is.
It's so fun. In Canada, the show airs on Treehouse and streaming platforms, and its impact can't be understated, according to this academic.
Sesame has a character who has a parent incarcerated. In COVID-19, who did we turn to? Sesame, because they did a special about dealing with COVID-19. Sesame Street wasn't just entertainment, it's an educational tool.
In agreement is this creator of children's programming.
Out of everyone, I think Sesame also recognized that kids and culture evolve, and almost faster now.
7, 8, 9. He's hoping another distributor will step in with a deal for new episodes.
I think losing that is pretty dangerous because they really do set the tone for the rest of the industry.
We can come up with a new strategy.
A spokesperson for Sesame Workshop said they're looking forward to announcing new distribution plans in the coming months. Until then, young fans can still catch new episodes from season 55 in the new year. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the National counts on Ian Hanomansing to brighten up Sunday nights with interviews that throw new light on major figures. So we've collected excerpts from some of his best conversations this past year, starting with 3 Canadian superstars.
I've had the good fortune of interviewing lots of terrific artists, musicians and comedians, for example, about how they got their start and what continues to inspire them. Here are some of those interviews from the past year, beginning with Katie Lang. I sat down with her in Edmonton in September. So we were born the same year. So as you launched your career kind of nationally and publicly, I was sitting there in front of my TV watching you. And I can think back to those days and how amazed I was, certainly of your talent, like your voice is so beautiful, but also your exuberance, how unique you were, your enthusiasm. Like you were in your early 20s, like where did all that come from?
Well, I've been thinking about this too in the last few days and weeks. You know, I came from a classical background, but then, you know, in my late teens, early 20s, I was actually a performance artist with a group here in Edmonton. So we really incorporated, you know, conceptual art and found objects, and you know, we were just doing a lot of different things. So when I shifted into country music, I brought all that with me. And I think that that's what made me different, is that I never really saw the need to hone down into something that already existed. I just kind of allowed myself to bring all the tools that I had as an artist into country music. And I think what's fascinating about looking back at what I did is that I really brought all of the aspects of who I was into country music. Like, I really did grow up in the prairies. I really did grow up helping my friend do the chores. I really did see chickens get their heads cut off. I really did drive around in trucks and drink Kahlua and milk and listen to country music. You know, that is my history. But that's not where it ends. I studied classical music. I had a lot of variations as well. Like I said, I was a performance artist, so that's quite skewing quite to the left. So I just find it interesting, and I would love to promote using your own cultural history to make you who you are as an artist. I think it's essential.
Just next door to us is the world headquarters for Point Grey Pictures.
Yes,
and
you make it sound like they're like
it's huge.
Like there's other
it's
headquarters. Yeah,
and the name is from your high school, Point Grey Secondary in Vancouver, which I drive by all the time. And honest to goodness, I think of you every time because I wonder, the young Seth Rogan at Point Grey, what was he like? So let me ask you.
Oh man, I don't know. He was, you know, he was not the coolest guy by any stretch of the imagination, but not the biggest loser either. We made a whole movie about it. I was a lot like the Jonah character in Superbad.
Look, we all know home ec is a joke. No offense. It's just like everyone takes his class to get an A. It's bullshit, and I'm sorry. And I'm not putting down your profession, but it's just the way I feel.
All right, Jules' partner isn't here today either. Pair up with her, station 4.
Jules. All right, I'll give it another shot. Give home ec another shot.
That is a good representation of what I was like in high school.
Okay, but before we get there, I just saw the footage of a 13-year-old you.
It's true, but I also did stand-up comedy.
But I mean, you didn't just do stand-up. Like, before I saw the video, I thought, am I going to cringe? Like, I don't care how talented a 13-year-old is. That is a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying it because I'm sitting across from you. You were fantastic in that.
Thank you.
There were five constipated men in the Bible. And the first constipated man was Cain. He was a table.
Like, you were funny, which is good. But your manner was really good. So I'm thinking to myself, how do you square that, like, coolest guy in the room with the Superbad character?
Because I was not actually like that in high school. I was not cool in high school. Again, I wasn't that bad, but I wasn't. I was really firmly in the middle. And when you tell kids in your high school you do stand-up comedy, that doesn't sound cool. That's not like traditionally cool.
But it gets better. You didn't just do stand-up comedy. You did improv.
I also did two of the coolest things.
And drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the only thing you were missing was band.
Exactly. We didn't have that in our high school. I probably would have done it. Yeah, so I did stand-up comedy. I think people were kind of fascinated by it, but it did not earn me like social cachet by any stretch of the imagination, no.
So as the older brother who sees his younger brother join a band, the band gets bigger, it eventually becomes iconic. I mean, maybe an overused word, but nothing is more iconic in Canada than the Tragically Hip. What was that experience like for you?
Exhilarating. I don't think I was ever at a hip show where I didn't elbow the stranger beside me and say, that's my brother up on stage. I just was so proud. And there really hadn't been anyone, in our family, history to, certainly not to do what he did, but to also be in the limelight like that and to be so confident and on stage and in his creation to be so confident. And I don't think I ever got used to it, that how incredible it was.
So your love for him, your admiration for him is obvious. You talk about legacy for the band, but what pressure as a filmmaker? Because here you are trying to do a big piece of Canadian history in this, and you want to presumably protect your brother's reputation to an extent, but you want to be honest. And there are moments in that documentary where, you documented that he contributed to some separation in the band.
Right, yeah. Well, we knew from the beginning that this had to be, I don't like the expression, but it needed to be warts and all, unvarnished. And because I'm Gord's brother making this documentary, so we really needed, and the four surviving members of the band, Johnny, Paul, Gord, and Robbie all agreed that they were ready to tell, the whole story. And when you are 5 people trying to create something every couple of years, there better be some tensions. We better not be agreeing on everything. And I think all that's kind of there. My brother was so driven. And I got the chance to make some music videos with him and several films. And Gord was not an easy collaborator. He was a good collaborator because the end product would be so great. But the actual process of it could be really, I found it exhilarating. I always loved it, but I always knew like I was dealing with a capital A artist.
You're not just starting your tour here, but you're starting your tour as a recent Grammy winner, Best American Roots Performance.
Yes.
Doesn't roll off my tongue
No.
yet, but for people who don't really know what that means, how would you describe your music to them?
I think, broadly roots music, so definitely influenced by the folk scene, influenced by the Americana scene, alternative country, if you will, but not really. It's the music that, honestly, that we started making here in Vancouver, BC, at the turn of the century in the millennium. My first baby band, Po Girl, that was 21 years, it will be 21 years in June. Our first record came out in 2003.
She's always late for something. He's always less than presents.
Lots of different artists from Vancouver came through the band. And we were blending. It was an amalgam of a lot of different influences, from jazz to folk to rock and roll. And we were playing banjos and fiddles and clarinets in my case, because I'm a super nerd. And it was just a joyful thing. And slowly but surely, if you keep doing your same strange thing for 20 years, eventually people think it's cool. So I think that's what happened.
How does a kid in Burnaby in the 90s embrace Sinatra?
Well, partly because I had a grandfather who I was really close to, who just loved music, loved that music. You know, this was his, it's funny, you know, a plumber, never sang in his life, but just had a deep reverence for Dean Martin, Bobby Darin, Ella Fitzgerald, the Ink Spots, the Mills Brothers. And then you mix that with a kid who loved it. I genuinely thought it was the greatest. I didn't understand how other kids my age weren't, how could they not love it too? And then add the fact that I felt like it made me unique. And I think all of us want to be unique. All of us want to be special. All of us want to have that different thing, that different hairdo, you know, stylistically listen to a different music or like that movie that no one else likes, because that's us. That's why, you know, I'm different from you, and that's what makes me unique. And so I think a big part of that was like, wow, this really imprinted on me. And I listened, ached, studied, lived. I fantasized about it. I would manifest it, and I still to this day manifest things. I have a really rich imagination, and I would sit, whether it was working on my dad's fishing boat or in my car, in my Pontiac LE 6000, you know, with my cassette that Grandpa had made, I would constantly just visualize and try to make this happen.
Next, the Canadian entrepreneurs whose business made a splash.
Popcorn wasn't the first idea. Like, the first idea was purpose and proving other people wrong that once incarcerated that your life is over.
Ian delves into the bumpy roads to success.
I've always been fascinated by successful entrepreneurs, the risks they take, the time they invest, the products and companies that they build. And I spoke to some over the past year, from a guy who started an international empire by moving junk in an old pickup truck, to a woman convicted of smuggling who turned her life around thanks to flavored popcorn. So from the time you were a little kid, you wanted to be an entrepreneur. Where did that come from?
My grandparents. I was born in San Francisco, and my grandmother and grandfather ran this little army surplus store in the dodgy end of town, and every weekend I'd go work at their shop. And whether that meant stocking shelves or ringing the cash register, I just got enthralled in the magic of interacting with customers, their employees, and I just found it fun. To me, it was like a game.
And so you ended up building a company and other companies, but 1-800-GOT-JUNK, which is not your typical company, and you did it in Canada. And I think a lot of people would feel that a lot of entrepreneurs need to be in the United States. Was it challenging to build your company here?
I have been nothing but encouraged every step of the way. And I feel that Canadians support entrepreneurship. They root for the underdog to a certain degree. They like people taking risks and challenges. If I look at the press has always cheered me on. I find that Canada is a great place to do business. We're all exposed to bureaucracies and challenges and red tape, but I think if you compare to the United States, very friendly, entrepreneurial community.
I was saying to people, this looked the way I hoped it would look. This looks like a place where toys are developed. First of all, your head office is in Toronto.
Correct.
Not New York, not London. Why Toronto?
This is where we grew up, and we're passionate about the country and passionate about being Canadian, and this is where we built it. And so many people have been working here for, if you walk around our office, people have been working here for 20 years, 25 years, 18 years, 15 years. I get a little emotional about it because, you know, this is home, and we're proud to be Canadian and proud to be a Canadian company.
If we did this interview 25 years ago, the headline would be, "Young woman of Asian descent is CEO of a supermarket chain." In 2024, is that still a factor? Is that still an issue for you?
I don't think this role was meant for me. I think it's kind of funny that the third kid, we had another kid in our family because my dad really wanted a boy. And it is somewhat traditional in family businesses for heirs to be males. Like that, you know. I can agree with you that 25 years ago, that it is rare for a successor to be a daughter. In fact, what is even more rare is that this is a matriarch story. Like, I can't think of many other matriarch stories where you go mother founder to daughter successor. And by the way, we're a minority story. Like, that's pretty crazy. It never occurred to my parents before. Like, you know, they didn't judge whether I could do the job or not do the job because I'm a female. Like, it was not a thing close, but I think it is a unique thing culturally, and also that we are outside of Asia, that we are here in Canada. That is unique.
This is a story about a comeback from crime, so let's talk about that crime. You tried to smuggle 2 kilograms of cocaine from St. Lucia to Canada, and you got caught, and I'm sure people are wondering, why would you do that?
Trust me, I never thought I'd be in that situation either. I was living in Toronto. I was struggling with substances due to something that was going on in my personal life. And I met someone through my work who was sober, and we became quite close, brought me on a trip. And turns out that trip was not just for vacation, it was also to bring drugs back. I was not very good at it. I didn't want to do it, and there's a lot of other factors involved, but at the end of the day, I did it, and I was arrested.
Somehow, in prison, you come up with this business idea. And I know you've told the story lots of times before, but how did that come about? Like flavored popcorn, you know, that this idea comes to you while you're incarcerated.
Popcorn wasn't the first idea. Like, the first idea was purpose and proving other people wrong that once incarcerated that your life is over, that you're not worthy of redemption. And I recognized from the get-go that I had made a mistake, that I had a lot of reparations to do with my family, myself, and the community. And when I got there, I met so many other people in there that just realized that, but we faced this enormous barrier of society and just being condemned even after you're done your time when it comes to finding a job. And in prison, there wasn't much to do, but we were able to cook a lot of our own food because I was in a medium security facility, and we would bond over these meals, birthdays, you know, Super Bowl, Canada Day, things like that. And it just happened to be Super Bowl where we were making a bunch of different snacks and talking about work and employment. But I realized that I wanted to do something, make something good out of this experience. And I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it wasn't going to be well liked by some people, right? But it was the only way that we could kind of get out there and prove it. And so Comeback Snacks, Popcorn, was born inside prison with the idea of, you know, hiring the formerly incarcerated to fight against the stigma against employment, right?
Ian and his team have been hard at work landing more interviews with interesting people who accomplish big things. They'll be coming your way in the new year. Coming up, we are counting down the top moments of the year, and number 11 is a spicy one. Mel C from the Spice Girls was a smash hit at 30,000 feet in our moment. Well, this holiday season, The National is bringing you a countdown of some of the most popular moments from this year. There are few things more iconic from the late 90s and early 2000s than the Spice Girls. And this year, one mega fan got to live out her dream and dance with Mel C on an airplane. So at number 11, stop right there for tonight's moment.
I got to dance with Mel C and do the Stop Right Now dance, which has been my go-to song on a bad day for almost 15 years. So when she walked down the gateway and I saw her, I burst into tears. I had given myself a pep talk and I was like, Pam, we're going to be professional. We are going to represent this airline in a professional way. And then she walked down the gateway and I burst into tears. So I said, so if you could do the stop dance with me, it would make my whole life complete. And she's like, oh, I'll do that. We're approaching into Heathrow. She goes up, she goes, it's time for you and me to do our dance. The world tells you that you're not supposed to meet your heroes because they'll disappoint. But then this woman gets on and she blew us all away. I can't say enough about her. I never expected her to be that absolutely humble and wonderful. And I could never have asked for a better human being to come on the flight. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Fun fact, I once saw Ginger Spice out walking her dog in London. I thought I'd go dance with her, but I chickened out. Thanks for being with us. I'm Paul Hunter. Take care.